Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. I'm Office Bloke Daz.
I'm Gaynor.
Office Bloke Aidan.
Here we are, three of us together.
Yes.
If Patreon's your thing, check out the link in the description below. Loads of stuff on there, starting at $3 a month.
Thank you.
Full watch-alongs.
Cheers, guys.
To Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
Yep.
Things like that. Modern Family. Yeah.
Things like that.
Yeah, it's loads of stuff. Check it out. Why nobody lives in these 10 empty big cities.
Ooh.
Nobody.
I'm sure there's probably someone.
I don't know which. I hear stories all the time, like in the news about people moving out from big cities and so like moving. Texas seems to be a big go-to place at the moment.
Yeah.
For people moving out like California and different places like that. But I think one of my mates who's big into tech, and he spends a lot of time in California. I think he goes up to San Francisco quite a lot, doesn't he? And he was saying it's gone proper weird over in San Francisco.
Mm.
He said he used to go all the time, loved it. Now he goes, can't stand it.
Really?
So
maybe that's one of the cities.
Yeah, could be, yeah.
Let's have a look.
Welcome back to the world according to Briggs. Today we're diving into a top 10 list that might surprise you. The largest yet most empty cities in the US. These places have a ton of land, yet are still somehow sparsely populated. We will be ranking these cities by population density according to the US Census Bureau. In a nutshell, how many people live per square mile. To give you an idea how sparsely populated these cities are, here's some examples of the most crowded. Phoenix, Arizona has about 3,100 people per square mile. That's really nothing. Dallas has about 3,800 people per square mile. Los Angeles, which is huge in land but still has a ton of people, has about 8,205 people per square mile. Go on down to Florida and take a look at Miami. They've got 12,284 people per square mile. San Francisco almost gets to 20,000 with 18,634. And the most densely populated city in the United States, of course, is New York City, where everything's built up and tons of people live in these buildings. They have 29,302 people per square mile. There's places in Iowa that have 2. So today we're looking at cities that sort of feel like you got the place to yourself. Got it? Get it? Good. Let's take a look. Number 10, New Orleans, Louisiana. New Orleans can throw a party like no other. Just look at Mardi Gras, when the streets are packed. But on a regular day, it's a different story. The population density here is just over 2,000 people per square mile. Wow. So you got plenty of elbow room. Now, this wasn't always the case. After Hurricane Katrina hit, the city's population took a serious nosedive, dropping from 450,000 to about 208,000. Now, we're just talking about the city, not the surrounding area. It slowly made a comeback, now sitting somewhere around 370,000, maybe a little bit less. But that's still a far cry from the pre-Katrina numbers. Add the city's crime rate, and you've got some residents thinking about packing up for quieter, safer spots, like Syria. Funny enough, some locals joke that outside of Mardi Gras and the festivals, you might think you have half the city to yourself. New Orleans has 2,267 people per square mile.
That's a real surprise to me, that, because I always had this image of New Orleans being a busy city all year round. You know, I know I get Mardi Gras and it gets really busy there because I've seen. Well, we were talking about going, weren't we? With friends of ours the other day, but it just seems to be a little bit too crazy for me. Yeah. You know, going down there just for that.
Too crazy for you?
I'd rather,
even as crazy as you are.
Crazy. But I'd rather go to. I'd rather probably go to New Orleans when Mardi Gras is not on. Yeah. Get a feel for it first, then maybe go back to Mardi Gras if that was the case.
Mile. I was there during festival 2 years ago, year and a half, whatever it was. Outside of Bourbon Street, I mean, half a mile off of Bourbon Street, the city did seem kind of vacant. Number 9, Tucson, Arizona. You know, I think Tucson's a very underrated city. It's moving in the right direction on a lot of their different stats, but I don't think they've caught on yet, like they probably should. And this kind of proves it. Tucson is home to about 547,000 people, but when you spread them out over the sprawling 241 square miles, you get a population density that's just...
It's a crazy stat though, because they've got how many people did he say? 500,000 people in Tucson, but only 200,000 or 300,000 in New Orleans. Yeah. And I just thought New Orleans was just a massive city in my head. Yeah. It's proper thrown me off that. Yeah.
Just a little over 2,200 people per square mile. Yeah, it's roomy. Walk through some parts of Tucson and you feel like the city's playing a game of hide and seek. Neighborhoods are spaced out like they're trying to avoid each other. And get this, the city's population density actually dropped 1.15% over the past decade. So if you're looking for elbow room, Tucson's your place. You also got like mind-blowing heat too, so you could throw a party and your neighbors might not even know. In fact, you'd have to drive a few minutes just to find them. Plus, with all the space comes some quirkiness. Ever heard of the Gadsden Purchase? Yeah, that's how the US snagged Tucson in the first place. And now it's a desert paradise where you're more likely to bump into a cactus than a crowd. I had a guy complaining about the traffic in Tucson not too long ago on a video. I've been to Tucson within the last 3 years. Unless something drastically has changed since then, there's no traffic in Tucson. Now compare that to other major cities. Tucson has 2,251.44 people per square mile. Number 8, Memphis, Tennessee. Memphis, with its 633,000 residents scattered across a whopping 295 square miles, sometimes feels like a ghost town in parts. This city has seen better days. In 2023, homicides have tripled, which doesn't exactly help Memphis's charm. The job market isn't doing the city any favors either. It's got an economy that's just limping along. All these factors are leading to more folks packing up and heading out. It's no wonder Memphis is starting to feel like it's losing the population race. On top of all that, there's been this long-term trend of people moving to other cities in search of better job opportunities or just a safer vibe. I read one guy, he said in an article, he said, "I've been shot at 3 times trying to get my mail." Then he said, "I don't know how stupid I am, but I haven't thought about moving yet." The first time, I'm gone. Getting my mail? Anyway, Memphis's downtown, once a hub of activity, has seen businesses shut down and buildings left empty. Even Graceland, the city's crown jewel, isn't enough to keep the people hanging around. So whether it's the crime, the lack of jobs, or just wanting a fresh start, people seem to be saying thanks, but no thanks, Memphis.
Gets a bad rap, doesn't it? You hear a lot about Memphis at the moment.
Yeah, you do.
So like for being very violent and sort of like having a lot of crime and stuff like that. Is it? Let us know if it's so like if it's what people are saying is true.
I know someone who was there a week ago.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and she's not said it. It was rough or anything.
Yeah. I don't know. It just gets every time you're reading something bad, it's either St. Louis or Memphis.
Yeah.
Right?
I think it's a crime. Memphis is weird. Beale Street and all that music history, that's great, but man, that place is dangerous. But they do have a giant Bass Pro Shop that's shaped like a pyramid. I guess that makes it all better. Memphis has about 2,146 people per square mile. Number 7, Tulsa, Oklahoma. Tulsa can feel pretty empty at times, and what's weird, it's actually growing, just at a slow crawl. The city has about 413,000 people spread across a whopping 197.5 square miles, which gives them a density that's just a little over 2,000 people per square mile. And that's a lot of open space in a city when you compare it to places like San Francisco and New York. In an attempt to fill up some of those wide open spaces, Tulsa launched a program offering $10,000 to remote workers who are willing to move to Tulsa. It's a cool incentive, and while it's brought in some fresh faces, the city still feels pretty spacious. We talked about this one before. I found it on that website, makemymove.com. I just checked their website, it's still there. It's called Tulsa Remote. It's a cool incentive, and while it's brought some fresh faces, the city still feels pretty spacious. Fun fact, Tulsa is so laid back that you can stroll downtown during a weekday and feel like you're getting a sneak peek at the apocalypse. Empty streets, no traffic, and not a soul in sight. Sort of a dream if you've ever lived in bumper-to-bumper traffic like in Los Angeles, like I have. It's horrible. Interestingly, though, Tulsa's not a ghost town. It's got a thriving art scene and pockets of nightclubs, especially in spots like the Blue Dome District. And yeah, there's still plenty of elbow room for now. See in the future. Tulsa has about 2,088 people per square mile.
You know what I'd like to know about as well with certain cities as well is if I look to go on as a tourist, a vacation to somewhere. Obviously, a lot of people aim for beaches and stuff like that. You're not going to get that in Tulsa to get that.
Yeah.
But it's Tulsa. It's one of them places. I'd love to go to Oklahoma, but would I choose Tulsa over Oklahoma City? Probably not.
Probably not, mate.
Yeah, but then if people come to the UK, I always tell them to choose Manchester, Liverpool, or Leeds over London.
Yeah.
But again, a lot of people won't do that if they've never been.
No.
You still got to see London, I think.
Yeah.
But it's better places, and I wonder if it's a good example or a perfect example of Tulsa versus Oklahoma City.
Yeah.
I wonder what the tourists are like. The areas there for, especially for like US domestic tourists. Who's it in Tulsa for a holiday?
Yeah.
Don't think probably not many, right?
No, the only thing I've seen is like a lot of movie sets. They do a lot of movies there, don't they?
we stopped.
What's happened here? I mean, the video's still playing.
There you go. Been here.
Number 6, Virginia Beach, Virginia. Virginia Beach might seem like a crowded hotspot when those 13.6 million tourists roll in every summer, but once the vacationers pack up their flip-flops and sunscreen, with about 455,000 full-time residents spread across the city, it's not exactly bustling. That works out to under 2,000 people per square mile, which in city terms means there's plenty of elbow room. It's a more laid-back beach vibe than jam-packed urban chaos like a lot of us are used to. Exactly how the locals like it. Here's a fun fact. That low density during the off months makes it easier to snag a prime beach spot, and the quiet winters means you can enjoy the ocean front without bumping into a crowd of selfie sticks. Virginia Beach has about 1,877.53 people per square mile. Number 5, Kansas City, Missouri. Kansas City's got some serious elbow room as well, with about 508,000 people stretched out over about 315 square miles. It breaks down to a little over 1,600 people per square mile. Put it in perspective, some cities feel like you're swimming in people, but here, you're more likely to bump into a barbecue joint than a neighbor. The city itself isn't exactly booming, but the suburbs, oh, they're having a party. Lots of people are opting for life outside the city and moving into the suburbs. Now, there could be a lot of reasons for this, but most people point the finger at all the crime going down in the downtown area. But if you don't mind a little crime and you like open spaces, Kansas City is practically rolling out the welcome mat. They got a lot of old warehouses that need to be turned into, those expensive lofts. That usually changes the neighborhood. And with all the open spaces, parking's a breeze. And traffic? What traffic? Fun fact, Kansas City actually has more fountains than Rome, which is wild. Given how spread out everything is, you might have to drive a bit to see them all. Kansas City, Missouri has 1,614.38 people per square mile.
Oh, I love Nashville.
Number 4, Nashville, Tennessee. Look at that, Tennessee getting 2 in this list. Nashville might look bustling with tourists and country music fans, but here's the kicker. It's actually not that crowded. The city's population density is just a little over 1,400 people per square mile, which is pretty chill compared to bigger cities like, earlier we talked about New York City, even Seattle, where you're practically rubbing elbows with strangers you really don't want to talk to. Nashville has been growing fast, though. Between 2010 and 2020, the population jumped nearly 15%. And with all those new folks moving in, housing prices have skyrocketed. And traffic? Well, let's just say your quick trip across town now feels like you're sitting through the entire Taylor Swift discography. Locals are, in a bit of a love-hate situation with this boom. On one hand, more jobs, better food spots. On the other hand, rent hikes and never-ending road construction. It's like Nashville's caught up in its own country song. Some people are singing along, and others just want the music to stop. Sort of like going to a Nickelback concert. Nashville has about 1,420.32 people per square mile. Number 3, Jacksonville, Florida. This might surprise you, but there's a reason Jacksonville has such a low population density. The city of Jacksonville is massive. It's nearly as big as the entire state of Rhode Island. We're talking 874 square miles of land. But here's the kicker. Even though it's physically huge, the city has just over 970,000 people. It's almost double the square miles when you count the water in this city too, but we're not. Anyway, their square miles and population breaks down to a little under 1,300 people per square mile. So yeah, it can feel pretty empty in some spots. There's plenty of elbow room here. But don't get too comfy. Things have changed. Since 2010, the population density has jumped nearly 10.75%. The city's spread out nature can be misleading. One minute you're strolling through a quiet neighborhood, and the next you're stuck in traffic because everyone suddenly decided to drive at the same time. Here's a fun fact. Jacksonville is the largest city by land in the contiguous United States, so you might spend more time driving across town than you'd like. And even though the population is creeping towards 1 million, you can still find spots that make you wonder if you're the only one left in town. Jacksonville has about 1,270.73 people per square mile.
I've heard that before about Jacksonville.
Being the biggest city. Yeah, I never knew that. It's new to me. Because I always think about Jacksonville and I always think, what's the relevance behind it? Because they've got like an NFL team, and it's like it's just in a little odd part of the state. Could be anywhere in the state, could be an odd part, I guess. But you got like Miami, and then on places like that, and you got obviously everything goes down at Disney and Orlando and things like that. And you got Jacksonville that seems to get like a load of like just loads of things seem to be happening, but for what reason? Do you know what I mean? It's like one of the places where I just find it a bit as if it overachieves for some reason, but I don't know why.
I'd hate to live somewhere where I have to drive so far to get to something else.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
I like everything's like on my doorstep.
Yeah, yeah.
Number 2, Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. Oklahoma City might be on the rise, but compared to places like Boston, it's got some serious tumbleweed vibes. Picture this, with 606 square miles of space and only about 681,000 people calling it home, the population density is barely over 1,100 people per square mile. That's like having one neighbor every couple of blocks. Meanwhile, in New York City, you can go out your front door, walk 3 steps, knock on the neighbor's door, punch them in the face, walk 3 more steps, punch another neighbor in the face, walk 3 more steps, and punch another neighbor in the face. Or you could just ask to borrow some sugar. Sometimes you wake up and you just got to start throwing punches. But it's not just the space that makes Oklahoma City feel so quiet. The weather here keeps you on your toes. One day you're basking in the sun, and the next you're dodging tornadoes or ice storms. And economically, well, let's just say the oil and gas booms haven't exactly turned into a permanent party. Slow growth is the name of the game here. Besides being a little sparse on people, it's a little sparse when it comes to excitement. Oh, and get this, Oklahoma City's sprawl is so massive, it's one of the largest cities in the US by land area. To give you an idea, you could fit Boston, Miami, San Francisco, and Washington, D.C. combined into Oklahoma City's land, and still have room for a few more cows. Yet with all that space, you'll rarely hit traffic. Maybe at its peak, though, you might see a little, but nothing like Los Angeles and Boston. Oklahoma City has about 1,122.96 people per square mile.
What are we going for number 1? Based on these,
Las Vegas.
Based on these that are coming out.
That's
now,
actually a good answer.
Yeah, Las Vegas is. It's probably got like the downtown area. It's like probably packed, but isn't it? Done another city fall right on its doorstep?
Like Paradise, or
Paradise City, was it? Something like that. Can't remember.
Isn't that like where the actual?
What about sort of like one of the states that's like a Montana or Iowa?
Is there
or
any?
Idaho?
Is there any big cities?
Des Moines, maybe. Boise.
I mean, I don't think it's big enough to have. I don't think like it'll have enough people in general anyway in the first place for it to be.
A big city, you think. I think Des Moines and Boise might be right.
Not sure.
But I'm thinking that like a larger sort of like area that doesn't have, it's not populated like a New York type place.
Yeah. What's the like Indianapolis or something, or Minneapolis?
Yeah.
Something like that.
All right, if you're thinking about cashing in on one of these sparsely populated cities and move there, there's a link in the description area below for Home and Money. They can get you in touch with a real estate agent anywhere in the country. And the question of the day, do you like having neighbors? How far would you like your neighbors to live? A mile, next door, like in a suburb, on top of you in a city? What is your preference when it comes to neighbors? Let me know in the comment section below. All right, on to number 1.
Alaska.
I keep forgetting about Alaska.
Number 1, Anchorage, Alaska. Now this one's a little strange. Anchorage is basically the heavyweight champion of where the heck is everyone. This place doesn't even have 200 people per square mile. It's like a giant game of Marco Polo to find anyone. So why won't people move there? Well, it's got that whole remote, pricey, and freezing vibe going on. So unless you're the type of person who likes to live a little bit more rugged, you might not like Anchorage. Anchorage, like Jacksonville, it's got tons of land around Anchorage that's doing nothing. That's why it gets so low on this list, or at least the per square mile numbers. 20, 30 years from now, it might be a different story, but I doubt it. Even with its wide streets and open spaces, Anchorage isn't a total desert. In the summer, you might spot a moose wandering through the city, which probably makes for more exciting neighbors than an actual human would. And if you're into that solitary lifestyle, you'll love that Alaska's population density overall is just 1 person per square mile. That's some serious social distancing. Anchorage, Alaska has 170.6 people per square mile.
I mean, that doesn't really surprise me considering it's in Alaska.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
I keep forgetting about Alaska when we're doing these lists and stuff like that, don't we? Hey, it's but yeah, I thought it was somewhere different than that.
Yeah.
I never even took it. I never even thought about it.
I've always wanted to
about
go
it
to
as
Alaska then.
We were talking about. I'd love to do a cruise
Yeah.
into the glaciers there and sort of like see what's going on there. But to go and visit, like, just to go into like Anchorage and stuff like that, or do you know places like that?
Yeah.
Not really. Not for me. It's a bit too remote for me.
Donna went there as well.
Looks bloody cold.
It does, doesn't it?
Yeah, looks
Just
cold.
a little bit.
Even in the summer, I think it'd be cold, right?
Probably.
Yeah. Anyway, enjoyed that.
Cold
Yeah,
doesn't bother me.
yeah. Good one, that, right?
Yep.
Hope you guys enjoyed it as well. Don't forget to like and subscribe. We'll see you on the next one.
Cheers.
Cheers.